Bim, guess what? It's Tuesday, it's 20 past 9. No, it's not, it's Monday, 20 past 9. And it's time for Election Watch, which is my journey to find out who I'm going to vote for in the upcoming general election on the 4th of July in 2024. Now, the problem I've got is there's no one I really want to vote for. So I thought what we'll do is we'll have a look together and see what the parties are offering. We're going to look at all the manifestos as and when they come out. We're going to cover not just Labour and the Conservatives, but also the Liberal Democrats, the Reform Party, news of which is today, SNP, because they might have something to play with it, and even the UK Independence Party, because they too have got a new leader. We may have some other parties involved as well at some point. Yeah, this is a whole hour or so of let's see what has been going on this week in the politics. Nice quiet day in politics today. I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. I'll just think of something. I do like the parties, I'll just make something up that sounds interesting. Thank you, Luke. Hi, Dream Frequency as well. Hi, T. So yeah, general election. I'll have a quick guide of what's happened this week, and then we'll look at what the parties say about what they're going to do, and also what they're saying about other people as well. Which is rather interesting, more than interesting than what's going on this week. But anyway, May the 27th, which was Monday, Labour leader speech, whatever the polls say, I know many have questions and are undecided. Well, that's me, so at least Keir is aware of whom I am. Rishi says, half an hour speech with no new policies, and he defended his national service thing, which I'm kind of warming to, weirdly. Probably because I won't get involved with it, because I'm too old. Tuesday, Dan Abbott reinstated as a Labour MP, but unsure if she can or will stand in the general election. Angela Rayner, no further action over the House things, the dresses and all the other scandals that were possibly dogging her. And the PM says the Tories will protect pensioners. Rachel Reeves says Labour National Party is the natural party, for businesses. So, yeah. Farage says the Conservatives and the Labour not doing enough to stop the boats in a speech in Dover. I wonder what Nigel Farage is doing now. No. Wednesday, 29th, Diana Abbott may or may not be allowed to represent Labour. They just want to exclude me from Parliament, she said. Keir says no decision has been made to bar her, but he didn't support her either. The junior doctors to go on strike for the 11th time, 35% pay restoration. And Wes Streeton, one of the few people from Labour who actually think has got something about him, has said that the 35% pay claim is not one that he or the Labour Party will be able to meet on July the 5th, but he's willing to sit down and negotiate on a journey to a fairer price and an agreement. Now, the problem with that was that the Tories tried to do that right at the beginning, and the BMA just said, no, we want 35%, and otherwise we're not talking to you. So there you go. Labour also say within 5 years they'll reduce the backlog of waiting lists to a maximum of 18 weeks, which is brilliant if it's going to work. Thursday, Conservative MP switches to Labour. Diana Abbott says she is being banned. Keir says again no decision has been made, but Angela Rayner sees no reason why she can't run. Which takes us to Friday, the 31st. Keir says Diana Abbott can run as a Labour candidate in the general election, and it ends 4 days of nonsense. And Keir talks about greater British energy. More of that later. Saturday, Labour Conservatives unveil buses. Angela's bus and the back to work policy. A clear plan on the Tory bus. And money for towns, £20 million. But they're not buying votes, so don't worry about it. And also on Sunday, Dan Abbott says she will stand as the Labour candidate at the general election. We'll have to wait and see. Labour, however, will not set a target on reducing net migration but they do say they will train more home skilled workers, and SNP launch their general election campaign. So that was the rough week as was, and this is the rough week as spoken to by, or put out by the people whom we are hoping to be able to vote for, he says. That was from last week, so ignore that. Where are we? We're on this week now. I don't understand why that's still there, because that's just been deleted. But anyway, let's not worry about that. Why is this first? Oh yeah, because it is first, that's why. So yes, so just to clarify, I'm doing this so we all get to see what the parties are thinking, what they are publishing about themselves, and what they feel is what will get them the most votes and therefore get them in power. Some parties have got more chance than others. It's fair to say that Labour and the Tories are probably the parties who are going to form the next government. But things can change very quickly in politics. Hiya, Hallam and Adeno. Hope you're all good. Everyone's saying hello to everyone in the chat room. Don't forget you can join in the chat room. You don't have to agree with me. You can do like some people have already done and commented on last week's fiasco that we did. It was my first one. And yeah, someone said, why should we look at reform? It's only fair. Well, I think reform are actually going to play a big part in this. Not necessarily they're not going to form the next government. I think people voting for reform could change the outcome of the election, as could people voting SNP up in Scotland as well, or not voting SNP. If they don't vote SNP and vote Labour, then that gives Labour a better chance of getting in. At the moment, I'm still on the fence, but I would still, at this exact moment, possibly, well, at the beginning of the week, said I would go to the Tories and have another 5 years of them rather than Keir Starmer, because I think Keir Starmer is dangerous. But that's my opinion. It might change. That's the whole thing. I am a floating voter. Anyway, the SNP posted, Labour's treatment of Diane Abbott, British first female black MP, is nothing short of shameful. It raises questions. If Sir Keir can't even solve a simple internal issue in his own party, how can he hope to solve the crisis we face? Because there are many crises going on at the moment, which is true, to be fair. Conservatives say exposed Labour's chaos. Labour forced to make up economic policy on the hoof, which is one reason I think why the Conservatives called the election very quickly. Everyone was kind of thinking it was going to be autumn, the end of the year, giving Labour a bit longer to sort things out, but no, they've just come wallop. Keir Starmer needs to find £2,094 from every working family in Britain to fill his £35.8 billion black hole. These obviously are Conservative figures, as is in from the Conservative Party. I have no verification of these things whatsoever. But again, we're just seeing what the parties are talking about. They've even put it on the van. Have you seen the van? If you think Labour will win, start saving. I remember a couple of years ago, 20 years ago, it was if Labour win, but the last person to leave the country, please turn the light off. Labour will raise your taxes. How do we know? Because Rachel Reeves' #1 advisor said they need to. We need to raise more tax. Rachel Reeves' advisor wants to increase income tax, national insurance, VAT, corporation tax, inheritance tax and TV licences for pensions. Again, this is Conservatives saying this, so take it with a pinch of salt. But Labour have said that no tax rises are going to happen. Meanwhile, Labour have a go at the Tories. This is the risk of voting for Rishi Sunak. The risk of Rishi Sunak's reckless 71 billion unfunded promises. Economic stability is threatened. Interest rates rise. Your mortgage goes up again. And a picture of Rishi when he was in the rain, doing his "I'm resigning in the rain" thing that he did, which was rather Max. What was it called? Max Headroom. Anyway, cat's just got in a carry bag. Don't worry about it. This is normal in this house. So, and they put asterisks, and the again is the thing. Now, the irony is, the biggest mortgage rise I ever have felt in a very short period of time was under Tony Blair. And in fact, I wiped Tony Blair's smile off his face without saying anything or even doing anything. I was a manager of game in Wrexham. He was walking down the middle of the pedestrianised street. In places there was one deep of crowds waiting to see him. It was before the Welsh Parliament. It was all about that, devolution, all that kind of thing. And he looks up and he goes, "Hello," with his stupid keen grin. And I'm just stood like that. I'm like, yeah, don't bat an eyelid, don't do anything. And that's before I knew he was a war criminal, and him and his crony Brian actually bankrupted the country. So yeah, pot, kettle, black. But it's not been good under Tories, don't get me wrong. I'm voting Reform, hate Labour and the Tories. I'm Reform too. I pretty much think that message on the van is correct. With Labour they will hit the poor as usual. Agree with you, Dream, but will be worse than that because Starmer hasn't a clue. Keir Starmer posted, the last Labour government got waiting list down and satisfaction to the NHS to the highest level ever. We've done it before and we can do it again. Bankrupted the country while you were doing it. Well done, Labour, something to be proud of. Don't get me wrong, I don't like the Tories either. Lesser of two evils at the minute. On Rishi Sunak's watch, 90% of crimes are going unsolved. Labour's first step will make your street safe again with 13,000 more neighbourhood police and PCSOs back on the beat. I kind of agree with that one, so we'll go with that. No mention how it's going to get funded, but let's not worry about that. Welsh Labour, watch live Labour's 6 steps to change Wales. I imagine the main one is get rid of the speed limits, even though they introduced them. The Labour Party did a meme, Rishi Sunak taking his dog for a walk in a helicopter. Hilarious. I mean, these are grown parties that they expect us to vote for them, to run the country. Meanwhile, the Lib Dems, since the pandemic, children facing mental health problems are on the rise. That's why the Lib Dems are calling for a mental health professional in all schools. Well, that'll be cheap, won't it? It's time to treat mental health with the same respect we do for physical. They pledge a trained mental health professional in every school, paid for by trebling the tax on social media giants. You can only tax people so many times. We'll have to wait. The Welsh NHS is in dire straits. Yep, it is, as is the Scottish one as well. Starmer takes his orders from the World Economic Forum, just like Sunak. Yeah, they are pretty much the same, which is why it's difficult to choose between the two. Keir Starmer is like the human form of beige, which is genius. Welsh Liberal Democrats on the 4th of July were given the choice of more conservative chaos and disorder, unfulfilled promises and lack of ideas from Labour, or true change and a fair deal for all. Join us today to make the right choice. And that is the Lib Dems in Wales, in Welshy Wales. Wigan, who were touting that one. Because don't forget, every seat counts. And I think, even though there's been a thing today saying that Labour are going to win with a 180-odd majority, we've had polls like that before. We had polls telling us Labour were going to win at the last election. It was a landslide for the Tories. It's literally here for Labour to absolutely get up. But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, BBC Breakfast, the Liberal Democrats have said they would increase taxes on the internet companies such as Google and Amazon to fund mental health professionals for all England state schools if they win the general election. Be interesting to see how that would work, but, well, I don't know. Would they get in? Reform UK. Our employer immigration tax is a rescue package for British workers. It will increase opportunity, boost wages and fund training for our young people. So what they're basically saying is they're bringing in this new policy. So it's not all about stopping the boats. They've now got a new way of stopping the boats, which is immigration tax, employer immigration tax. It will incentivise businesses to hire British workers, raise £20 billion to train our young people, end Britain's deadly addiction to mass immigration. Again, it's their words, not mine. SNP, The Tories and Labour have utterly abandoned Scotland's European future. Thanks to austerity, the cost of living and reckless Brexit, our young people have been robbed of opportunity. Only the SNP will stand for Scotland's interests. More SNP. Labour's treatment of Dan. Oh, we've done that one. We're getting a repeat performance. It was that shocking. It was so bad I had to mention it twice. SNP again. Westminster's Brexit has robbed young people of the opportunity to live, work and study across Europe. Labour and the Tories are okay with this. The SNP is the only party focused on the priorities of young Scots and offering them a route back to the EU. So Westminster priorities make Brexit work. Scotland's priorities rejoin the EU. Now, I'll be honest with you, if Scotland do leave the United Kingdom and then apply to join the EU, it's going to be decades before they're allowed in, and I'll be honest, are the EU going to be interested in a tiny little country like Scotland? No. So, the EU will be imploding on itself in the next 5 years anyway, so why would you want to join that cluster? Anyway, Labour have said they will maintain Tory spending cuts and privatise the NHS. Don't let them away with it. To end austerity and keep the NHS in public hands for SNP on July the 4th. Labour say they'll hold the door wide open to NHS privatisation. Like I say, at the moment we've got Tory or Tory light. That is it. That's the choice. And then the SNP, Rishi Sunak taking his dog for a walk. Remember that? Well, how's about this one? We had, hey Keir Starmer, we heard you came to Scotland today to announce your green policy agenda on a private jet. Next time you come here, why not use the trains? We've nationalised instead. We've even scrapped peak fares to sweeten the deal. So the SNP having a go at Keir Starmer for flying around in a private jet, having the Labour Party have a go at Rishi for being rich, which is fair enough. The SNP, my belief, which is John Swaney, the leader of the SNP, the new leader of the SNP, the third one in 12 months, there are 18 months. My belief is, of course, not nearly enough. People are rightly looking for evidence that independence will boost living standards, protect the NHS and help us build more houses and tackle climate emergency. At this election, those principles, it is those principles that will guide my approach, so I'm asking the people to vote SNP to remove the Tories from government. I'm asking the people to vote SNP to put Scotland's interests first. I'm asking you to work with me in a strong, unified team to encourage people to vote for a future made in Scotland, for Scotland. It's all well and good. If people abandon the SNP, they're probably going to vote Labour, which would put the Labour in. However, if people in Scotland vote SNP, I mean, they've been in charge for 17 years and the place is on its knees, more drug deaths than anywhere else in Europe. The NHS is on its knees. It's just a mess. School education isn't great. But if people want to vote for it again, it might keep Labour out. You never know. Ben says reform all the way. Toffs TV, where's the next Guy Fawkes to make sure MPs are in the building? So hi Toff, welcome. SNP, Keir Starmer has U-turned at least 27 times since he became leader of the opposition. I'm pretty sure he's U-turned 27 times since the election was called. But anyway, Labour can't be trusted to stand up for Scotland's values because they have completely abandoned theirs. You want leadership that sticks to its principles. Vote SNP. The Westminster campaign launch says, after looking at Keir Starmer's serial U-turns in the pursuit of power, I think people are crying out for political leadership that sticks to its principles, for leaders who argue for what they believe in. We are. That's exactly what we want. It's not sure it's the SNP, but that's exactly what we want. We want people who actually stand up for what they believe in. Whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't really matter. If everyone who voted for Brexit voted reform, we might have a chance. Yeah, that is true. Have I got news for you? Join in. Labour claim Angela Rayner will cover 5,000 miles in a battle bus during the election. She's not daunted by this, given the miles she's already racked up travelling between houses. You've got to love a bit of satire from Have I Got News for You. They are very, 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 very clever people. and also very biased as well. Conservatives now, we cannot be soft on those who destroy our towns and communities. Hello Wigan Council, we're talking about you. Pride in place, empowering communities in order to build pride in place. New rules and tougher stances to crack down on antisocial behaviour. Regenerating towns by giving high streets a new lease of life. Right, two things you can do here. One, crack down on antisocial behaviour. If I drive my car with no tax, no insurance, no licence, and no MOT, it will be taken off me and crushed. Why do we let the kids riding bikes around keep the bikes or even get another bikes? What we should do is, we know where these kids live, at least the police do, go around to the houses, go around to where they hide the bikes, seize all the bikes, crush them, no questions, they don't get them back, crush them. Any child found on a bike with no licence, no tax, no insurance gets 5 years added to the time that they can actually apply for a driving licence, and every time they do it they get another 5 years added to it. Simples. Tough, but it needs to be done. Someone needs to be tough on antisocial behaviour. One of the worst things people moan about are kids riding round on off-road bikes and quad bikes and that kind of thing. Not only are they dangerous, they're also incredibly noisy. We've got people with babies, we've got elderly people trying to get to sleep, we've got people who are in terminal decline with health issues, who are trying to get some peace and quiet, and these rascals are running around on bikes just destroying the neighbourhood. So no, if you've got a bike that isn't tax or insured, it gets crushed and you get 5 years added to your ability to actually get a driving licence. Finished. Regenerating towns by giving high streets a new lease of life. I agree that we need to tax people like Amazon. That definitely needs doing, because they just get away with everything, as do Google, as do Starbucks and all the others. However, what you need to do is make it a level playing field. So any business on a high street or in a community pays 0 business rates. That's the thing. The business rates is the thing that put me on a motorway bridge at 3 o'clock in the morning about 7 or 8 years ago. It was the pressure of the business rates. Get rid of that. You'll get more businesses opening up. The high streets will naturally regenerate. We don't need to knock things down. We don't need to build things. We just need to make it cheaper for people to set a business up and have a go. They won't all work, but at least people have a go. At least the properties will be organised. Dead simple, dead easy. The money you've lost from that, you then get back from the Amazon depots. They are fucking huge, and they are incredibly tall as well. What we normally do is, it's the square meterage on the floor that is what is taxed and is business rated. With Amazon, because they have multiple levels of the racking and all that kind of stuff, what you do is you tax every level for a square metre. So every pallet, shape, stacked up, every one of them, instead of paying for 1 square metre, you pay for 10, 20, depending on how high it is, square metres. And they have to pay that, otherwise they get shut down. There you go, you can have that for free. Whoever wants it, you can have it. Yeah, business rates, absolute nightmare. Literally for me, beyond a nightmare to be fair. But anyway, we've moved on from there. Next up, talent and hard work should determine life chances, not geography. That's why Rishi Sunak has a clear plan to give 30 more towns £20 million extra to deliver on local people's priorities. So 30 more towns to benefit from levelling up, extra 20 million to deliver on local priorities, investing a total of 2.1 billion over the next 10 years, new town boards to turn around local high streets. Now I like the sound of that. I've not looked into that, I don't know what that's about, but it should be, the council should have to listen to businesses, preferably independent businesses, but we'll go with big businesses as well in each town to actually say what we need doing. And yeah, they just don't, do they? It's just an absolute sham at the minute. But anyway, that's Wigan Council for you, isn't it? What can you do? Record investment, waiting list down. Well, yeah, this is the NHS. There is record investment. Everyone's agreeing that there's record investment. It's in the wrong place. It shouldn't be in managers. It shouldn't be in backroom staff. It should be on front line staff. So your GPs, your pharmacies, your nurses, your doctors. That's where the money should be going. It shouldn't be going paying some person who sits in an office somewhere all day and never sees a patient more than what the Prime Minister gets every year. That's an absolute waste of money. Travesty. Waiting list down. Yeah, but they went up because of the Tory cuts. So it's like saying, I punched you in the face and broke your nose, but your nose is fixed now. It's better. It's got a bend in it. It's not like it was before. But look, it's getting better. Record numbers of doctors and nurses. Yeah, lost. Our clear plan and bold action to deliver a more secured future for the NHS. I kind of think that Rishi is telling the truth on this. The problem is we've had 14 years of them kicking it up. So putting patients first, expanding pharmacies first, freeing up 2.5 million GP appointments, build or modernise 250 GP surgeries. I mean, they are modernised. That could be put a screen up in a GP service. Well, that's one of the 250 done. I mean, you know, we've got to have a little bit more detail than that. Build 50 new community diagnostic centres. The cat's in a carrier bag, if you wonder what all the racket is. The previous cat hated carrier bags. This one sits in them. It's mad. Next up, we are the only party who will protect single-sex spaces. And the Daily Telegraph is pictured there with a Richard Murdoch and his new glory hunting wife. I mean, his new money looking for wife. His new lovely wife. Soon I'll change law to protect women's spaces. Now, I watched a thing on this on weirdly GB News. I know. I wanted to see what the thing with Farage was, to be fair, and they were talking about this. And the woman, to be fair, she interviewed Nigel Farage and she tore into him, and it's GB News. It was actually on his show, that she was ripping into him. Why have you changed your mind and all this kind of stuff? More of that later. But she was talking to this trans woman, and this trans woman couldn't actually understand the problem of why she isn't allowed into, or wouldn't be allowed into men's toilets, no, ladies' toilets, because she identifies as a woman. Therefore, she should be entitled to. And then she even challenged the woman who was interviewing her from GB News to say, well, would you prove that you're a woman to go into a female toilet? And rightly she said, well, no, because I am a woman. I don't need to prove I'm a woman. I am a woman. And then this trans woman was saying, well, what would you do? Do you expect us to do? Drop out trousers or something like that? It was the worst support I've ever seen for something like that. It was absolutely shocking. I'm trans. Alright, okay, that's fine. I know, you're only joking. I thought you were going to say you're a transit van. What did Keir Starmer really think about Jeremy Corbyn? This was him interviewed at the last general election. Yeah, I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister. Remember lefty Jeremy Corbyn? If he'd have got in, we'd be probably speaking Russian now. Not even joking. The Tories also say about that, let's have a look. The man who wanted to disband the army, scrap our nuclear deterrent and break up NATO. Not Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn. Bearing in mind that they've been talking about nuclear weapons today in the various things. Labour. With Labour, those who can work will work. Labour's back to work plan. A new national jobs and career service. You mean a job centre? Okay. New local plans for support to get more people with health conditions and disabilities into work. So you're going to force people who you think, because you've done a little test on them, are capable of going to work, and otherwise you're going to stop the benefits? Seems fair, Labour. A youth guarantee with opportunities for training and apprenticeship, or help people find work for all young people aged 18 to 21 years old. Or alternatively, send them into the army or make them do voluntary work. Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? Helping people get into work isn't forcing them. No, it's... I like your comment though. No, it will be though. It will be. Trust me, it will be. If they can save money by getting someone to go to work, they will save money by getting... It doesn't matter what the mental... consequences of that are. There are people who physically can work but haven't got the betrays. I like your name, by the way. It's very cool. I'm not even joking. That's a very cool name. I just think it's one of them things that they just come up with, and I don't think it's going to help anyone. Oh look, the YTS scheme is back. Yeah, exactly. That's what I started on. I mean, obviously betrays, you're not as old as me. I mean, I'm practically a pensioner. But when I left school, there was a YTS training. We worked 40 hours a week and we got £23.50 as an apprentice type of thing. So it's not helping anyone really. And getting disabled people to work who've got mental health issues or hidden disabilities just because they passed the test somewhere doesn't mean that they're going to be suitable for work, and it could cause a lot more issues, mental health issues and that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm 42 myself. Well, you don't look at it from your tiny little picture, which is only, to be fair, that big, because I can't enlarge in it when I'm doing this. I remember YTS. Helping people into work is not by taking help away as soon as a job is got. Well, yeah, there is that as well. That's a worrying thing. Anyway, Keir Starmer says, my Change Labour Party will get our economy growing across our country. We will power up Britain's towns and cities. We will deliver growth wherever you're from. We are ready to change Britain. Well, Labour have changed Britain before. Mind you, the Tories have changed Britain recently as well, so, you know, you can't say anything really, can you? Mate got 30 quid a week. Wow, that was 30 quid. You know, the irony was I got £23.50. I know £23.50 isn't a lot of money now, but I'll be honest with you, for 40 hours a week in 1981, it wasn't a lot of money then either. And my mum, she took 15 quid of that off me for board, so I had £8.50 to live on. Angela Rayner in a battle bus. It's got a fridge. I think there are more important things to worry about, whether you can chill your wine or not in your bus. But anyway. Labour Party, these are Keir Starmer's first steps for change. So this is not what he's going to do altogether. This is his first steps. Deliver economic stability. To be fair, that's starting to come now already, so that should be easy. Cut NHS waiting times. Though they are starting to come down, but they are at record levels, so that should be fairly easy. Launch a new border security command. Why do we need a new one? That's just costing money. Just improve the one we've already got that's failing. Set up Great British Energy, which apparently isn't going to produce any energy, it's turned out today. It's just going to be like a front. They're going to buy the energy off people, but not charge people as much for it. Crack down on antisocial behaviour. Well, I've already told them how to do that. And recruit 6,500 new teachers. But no, there's no time scale over this. It's just the first things he's going to do. My first wage was £10.50 per week. Angela Rayner declares the bus a second home. Technically it'd be a third home, but I know what you mean. I had 50 quid a week. I had to give my dad 30. Parents, eh? I won't put politics and party ahead of stability and security. My Change Labour Party will always put the country first, party second. Yeah, it's still bully boys tactics though, isn't it? The way they've treated a left winger in their party. Britain will be better defended with Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. Oh, hang on a minute. Labour is committed to the nuclear deterrent triple lock. Is that because they realised that lost them the vote last time when Keir Starmer was there? Not Keir Starmer, sorry, Jeremy Corbyn was in, who said he was going to scrap it all and take us out of NATO and do all this, that and the other, who Keir Starmer was supporting. Now, because he knows he lost votes from that, he's changed his mind. And now he's thinking we should keep it, and he's going to press the button. Hopefully, not just willy-nilly, if there's a need to. And by then, there's probably already too late anyway. Don't believe Starmer. Labour's magic money tree. John Healey, Labour's support for the nuclear deterrent is total. Our triple lock commitment to the nuclear deterrent will see 4 new nuclear submarines built in Barrow-in-Furness, Britain maintaining its continuous at-sea deterrence, and the delivery of all future upgrades that are needed. And that is John Healey chatting on Good Morning Britain this morning, I assume. Meanwhile, the Lib Dems, what have they been up to? Breaking news, only the Liberal Democrats will protect our rivers and beaches and end the sewage for good. Well, the sewage scandal for good, not the sewage for good. They're not going to feed everyone eggs. That would bung us up. Expand blue flag scheme for beaches to rivers, say the Lib Dems. Seems like a decent idea, to be fair. Only the Liberal Democrats will protect our rivers and beaches and end the sewage scandal for good. Just find them. Stormer turned his back on everything he said he would do when he campaigned to become leader of the Labour Party. You cannot trust the plonker. For me, Great British Energy and removing zero contracts are two important points to me, as somebody who pays £200 a month in energy bills and always rising, worked in retail a lot when younger. Yeah, but this energy company is going to cost billions to set up. You can't just set an energy company up like that. And they're not making energy. They've even admitted that there's no energy going to be made by this energy company. So, yeah, I think what we need to do is privatise the energy companies that we've already got, because they're already there, and then take over them. This is what I said about the water companies, which is ideal because we're talking about water. So we're going back to Labour, but we're also talking about water, similar kind of things. They were privatised, rightly or wrongly, they were privatised decades ago, and they've been owned by various different people. Most of the companies now are owned by people who don't live in the UK. They've got shareholders, they pay. At least he's not done it when in power. People can change their minds prior to election. Yeah, but the problem is, can you trust a man who can't make a decision? I wrote in the local paper a few months ago that if he went to a restaurant, you went to a restaurant with him, because he's so upset about upsetting people, you give him a menu and he's looking at it, and what can I have for my starter? Oh, I'll have a prawn cocktail. Oh no, I better not have a prawn cocktail because that's like old-fashioned. People might think I'm living in the past. I'll have garlic mushrooms. Oh, I can't have garlic mushrooms because that'll upset people who don't like vegans. People will think I'm a vegan. I'll have a bacon butty. Oh, I can't have a bacon butty because that'll upset vegans. You'd be there for hours. He can't make a decision. That seems to be the problem. Look at this scandal with his MP, who he said 3 days on the trot that there was no decision being made, and then all of a sudden when Angela Rayner said something, he said, oh yeah, actually no, she can stand. It's just scary. It is scary. And like I say, I've lived through many Labour Prime Ministers. I've lived through many Tory Prime Ministers, more Tory Prime Ministers in the last 5 years, to be fair. They're all rubbish. It's one thing you have to bear in mind. They are all shite. Keir Starmer is worth £5 million. He's a Knight of the Realm. The leader of the Lib Dems, which we'll get to in a minute. Or have we done Lib Dems? I think we might have done Lib Dems. They didn't do a lot this week. He's a Knight of the Realm as well. Rishi Sunak is a multimillionaire through marriage, but he's not a Knight of the Realm. He's the one person who's actually a man of the people in that respect. None of them are for the working person. But back to my thing about the energy companies. So the energy companies and the water companies have been bought out by these private equity firms or whatever they are, and they've made billions and billions and billions of pounds of profit by screwing over the public. The one thing they've done, the energy companies, which I fought against, well, I mentioned, I'm not fought against particularly, because I can't do it, I haven't got the power, but is standing charges. Okay, I get the war in Ukraine has put up raw energy prices all over the world, so that's petrol, that's gas, that's coal, that's any kind of fuel has gone up in price because of the Ukraine war. Fair enough, can't argue with that, you know, it's one of them things. But they put the standing charge up, and there's no need to do that because they're not investing in the infrastructure. They're already charging us for that somewhere else. So it's, why are you putting the standing charge up? That's what's crippling everyone, because the prices now is coming down of the actual fuel, but the standing charges are not coming down. It costs the same amount of money per light bulb that you've got in the house to have the electricity sent to your house, regardless of the price that's paid for it. The price of that doesn't change. So, for example, if you live in a house on your own, like I do, and you have LED lights, so it saves electricity, you only have one room lit at once, and it's only light bulbs you use, you don't use anything else. Why should I pay the same standing charge that's going up every single time than my next door neighbour who've got halogen lights everywhere and burning loads and loads, but their standing charge is the same price as mine? Doesn't work. Okay, I know they're paying more for the energy, and that does make sense, but the standing charges have gone up and gone up and gone up. Look at the statements that you've been sent from your electric company. It doesn't matter which one it is, they're all the same. Standing charge has gone up from so much a day to so much a day every single time that the price of the gas or electricity has gone up. And it's gone up on both. It's gone up on the gas and it's gone up on the electricity. So, all the money that these companies have made and given to their shareholders as profit, we knock off the price that they paid for the company in the first place. So, like a water company, if they bought a company for £10 billion, I mean, these are only figures, it's just to give you a rough idea. So they bought an oil company for a water company for £10 billion, and they've paid their shareholders £5 billion in dividends. Then we only pay them £5 billion to get it back, and we own it then. They have not lost any money, but they've not gained any money. However, if they've been one of the companies that have invested in the infrastructure that they bought, which was, let's be honest, Victorian, then we add that investment back to what we pay for it. So if they paid their shareholders £5 billion out of the 10 billion, that knocks it down to 5 billion. But they invested 3 billion, then that puts it up to 8 billion. So we buy it for 8 billion, and we're paying for the investment that they've done. And then, now as a nationalised company, all the profit that is made from that can go into reinvesting into the water company and into the infrastructure. And we stop the sewage leaks. We stop the flooding that's going on here, there and everywhere. The weather's going to get worse for years to come. The flooding's going to get worse. So you've got to do that. Anyway, let's see what you've been writing. We pay the highest fuel bills in Europe. Yep, it's disgusting, but who sold them all? Thatcher, a Tory leader. I'm not arguing about that. Have you ever tried this website, Elder? We don't get links on here. Kia's knighthood is part of the third highest order of chivalry, and Ed Davey is a knight bachelor, so definitely not men of the people. UK, I side with. No, I've never heard of it. Boys Own Club, and we're in it. Yeah, exactly. There are people in Wigan, to be fair, who vote Labour because their parents, grandparents and grandparents voted Labour. But they then moan at what's going on in Wigan. And that's the problem. You can't vote for a party just because you've always voted for them. This is why I'm a floating voter. I've voted for everyone over the year. I've been voting for that long. I've literally voted for everyone. I even voted for Margaret Thatcher. I even voted for Tony Blair. I voted UKIP as well. And I voted for independents. I voted Lib Dems. I voted for everything that's got the best policy. I don't stick to one thing. Because it's like you've got blinkers on and everything else is wrong. Even though you see the failures that the governments that are run by the parties you support are doing in other parts of the country or in your own town. None of these parties are any good, being brutally honest, but we do need a change. Big question is, do we need a reform? See what I did there? It's actually reform, it's Liberal Democrat still. Lots needs to be back in public hands. It'll bring more money to the coffers to spend on improvement, but other stuff like NHS. Yeah, but I mean, that's it. You know, once you've got the stuff sorted out for, I mean, all this green power shite, wind turbines. I mean, that's a waste of space, isn't it? It's not windy all the time. They're also incredibly expensive to put up, and they're incredibly expensive to maintain. Waste of time. Solar farms. Jesus Christ, why do we have solar farms in the UK? It's miserable most of the time. Absolute waste of money. And that land, okay, if it's marshland or something like that, okay, not so bad. But if it's farmland, that could be used to produce food. We are relying and we are running out of food in the supermarkets because of all this import stuff that's going on. Yeah, I know it's Brexit, blah, 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 but it's not just Brexit, but yeah, and climate change as well. I am from near Manchester, it's not far from Wigan. I vote Labour purely because in my town was much more prosperous under Blair. She would start open centres for teens and help me get into work. Yeah, but that was 20 years ago. Labour isn't that party anymore. Labour is not New Labour. Labour is whatever it is. It's basically Tory light. You know, Labour and the Tories, when I first started voting, were miles apart. And they've kind of moved a little bit over the years. Obviously, different leaders, different things. Lib Dems kind of floating around in the middle. And now, they're like that. And in some cases, they're even like that. I mean, how many times The reason why we've got a crap government, and we've had a crap government, is because we've had no opposition. The opposition has got to be strong in order to make a government do stuff. And if there's no opposition, like Keir Starmer agreed to pretty much everything during the lockdowns and all that. I know it was the first time it never happened and all that kind of thing. And then afterwards criticises it. Well, he agreed to it all. He's agreed to a lot of the Tory policies that have gone through. He's even said that he wants to make Britain green, but he's not going to take away any of the licences that have been given to the North Sea looking for oil and gas. So what are we voting for? I'm in Sale, South Manchester. It's just weird. Anyway, sewage is dumped 100,000 times into bathing water since 2020. The school sewage scandal has to end now. Conservatives have allowed the Wild West water industry to ruin our precious rivers, lakes and beaches with disgusting sewage dumps. And they are not wrong. It is disgusting and it is a sewage dump. Anyway, as I was saying before, do we need to reform politics? Now, someone questioned why I put reform up on here. And I put reform up on here because if you look at the previous video I did, which will be in the playlist, which is in the links, you'll see a couple of people have commented, why the hell am I even talking about reform? Well, reform have got, I don't know, they've got something about them. I mean, okay, I don't agree with them particularly, but people are talking about reform. Even in this chat room tonight, people have been talking about voting for reform because they've had enough of Labour. They've had enough of the Tories. I mean, I don't get why you would leave Labour and vote reform, but I've said that, Labour's like Tories anyway, so it kind of makes sense. It is a weird one. It is a very peculiar thing, and the way I look at it is, if you want to stir things up, you have to do things differently, and you also have to show people the options that are available, and that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, I agree, Betrays. Reform are going to lose the Tories so many seats that they are splitting the votes. But as Dream Frequency said, Tories are probably going to lose anyway. The problem you've got is, if people vote tactically, they have to vote en masse tactically. So if everyone who was going to vote Tory, or voted Tory last time, voted Reform, it's not going to happen, but if they did, then Reform would get in. I mean, literally get in from nowhere. God knows what they'd do. I mean, that would be an absolute nightmare, because I don't think there's any real politicians within them. At the point of this tweet, X. Did you know around 50% of fast food deliveries are done by illegal workers? Many of the delivery companies know about this but do nothing. Reform UK will ban this practice. Now, last week we looked at Reform UK and it was all about stopping the boats. It was like they had one policy, and that was to stop the boats. That's all we're going to do. Stop the boats, stop the boats, stop the boats. So this week we thought we'd give them another look. This is an interesting one. In 1997, the average house price was 3 times your salary. Now it's 10 times. Why? Thanks to uncontrolled immigration, the demand for housing has skyrocketed. Reform will freeze non-essential immigration and focus on helping young British people find homes. Now, one of my manifesto policies in my local election was, if you live in Wigan and you were brought up in Wigan and you went to school in Wigan and you're on the waiting list for social council housing, you should get extra points for being born and bred in Wigan. And I knew people would say, well, that's being racist. But I wasn't brought up in Wigan. So if my shop goes bust and I lose everything and I end up on the streets and this scheme was in and I was on the waiting list for a flat or whatever to get myself back into housing, I wouldn't get them points because I was schooled in Tameside, the other side of Manchester. The whole point is local houses should be for local people, and we shouldn't have people just dropped in by the national government or whomever. It should be people who deserve a chance of staying in the area that they were brought up in. I mean, I'd say any part of Wigan, so you could do, you could be brought up in, I don't know, Pemberton, but apply for a house in Standish. But as long as it's within the Wigan borough, you get those extra points. Whereas at the moment it seems very much the other way. And it doesn't affect private housing. If you can afford to buy a house, You buy a house. We're not going to knock the house prices down. We're going to keep the house prices high, because if you own a house, that's great. But it just seems a fair way of doing. Is illegal workers, it's already banned? It is, but it's tracking them down and catching them, getting the police to do it. Some good, valid and interesting points being made on here. They would give you a tent and a sleeping bag. No, they wouldn't, because I wouldn't have a shower and then I'd smell and then they'd arrest me. Keep up with the politics. What's going on with me? What's going on with my mouse? Oh, there we are, we're back. Yeah, keep up with the, keep up with the police. Keep up with the police. Come on, come on. Don't give me a sleeping bag. Jesus Christ. Reform UK's landmark employer immigration tax will end Labour and the Tories' deadly addiction to cheap foreign labour. So our employer tax, immigration tax, would be pro-young workers and pro-British. So basically what they're saying is that people are employing people from overseas, and they legally, for some bizarre reason, don't have to pay them the same minimum wage as they pay people who live in the UK and were brought up in the UK. So they're going to stamp that one out. Basically, they're having to go at immigrants again. With the Employers' Immigration Tax Reform, UK will end the Tories and Labour's deadly addiction to massive migration. So there's a picture there of Keir and Rishi stood together, obviously photoshopped, with thumbs up, taxing British workers. And then there's a picture of the then leader of Reform looking very serious with a big tick, taxing mass immigration. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Britain needs reform and reform needs you. We are close to overtaking the Tories and we can do it with your help. Which is another valid point. If you believe the opinion polls, which I don't, they are actually closing the gap, which is another reason why I think they deserve to get a little bit of airtime on here. I mean, like I say, I don't agree that there are, their policies 100%, but some of the ideas they have are half decent. No more fake promises. The Tories have broken Britain and betrayed the electorate. Britain needs reform. You can never trust the Tories. So they're having a right go at the Tories because they know that's their audience. That's where they're going to get the votes from. Tune in. Richard Tice and Nigel Farage will be making an emergency general election press announcement at 4 PM today. The event will be live streamed on our social media channels. Reform UK press conference. Join live in 1 hour. So, the big question is, what was going to happen? What was it going to be? Nigel Farage, I'm coming back as leader of Reform UK, but not just for this election campaign, I'm coming back for the next 5 years. And you're like, whoa! We've got about U-turns from Keir Starmer. Nigel Farage, no, I'm not standing for election. No, I'm not going to be leader of Reform. I'm going to go to America after the election, but I will go around and support Reform for this election, but then I'm moving to America. And then he's now standing in Clacton. I mean, it's a weird place to stand for, but Nigel Farage is Reform UK's leader, unelected, and candidate for Clacton. Now, will this change people's opinion on Reform? Because a lot of people like Nigel Farage. I'm not one of them, I'll be honest. I did vote UKIP back in the day, but that wasn't for Nigel Farage because I knew he wouldn't get in. It was just to send a rocket up the Tories. I was on the fence. Are you still on the fence, Dream? That's the question. A lot of people who come into the shop say that they, before this, that they're going to go down the Reform vote rather than Labour, and I'm like, that's a bit of a swing. I get it from the Tories, but I don't really get it from Labour to Reform. However, a lot of people are saying this, and a lot of people saying they don't like Keir Starmer, and I don't think the opinion polls are actually doing this. I mean, this is basically what happened with Jeremy Corbyn. Everyone said, he's going to be Prime Minister and all this kind of stuff, and then it was going to be close, and then it was an absolute landslide for the Tories, even though they were already in. Everyone thought they'd be out. Yeah, it's a weird one. I'm not convinced, I'll be honest with you. Anyway, SNP, like I say, they're going to play an important part in this election, even though it's only in Scotland. So John Swinney, so when we talk about independence, we need to demonstrate again and again and again that we are talking about people's core concerns, like raising living standards and protecting the NHS. So that's him tweeting to the people who are questioning the election. Stephen, hey Tech, sorry, me, Kelly and Rollo missed your last night, hope you're well. We are good. Hiya Rollo, hope you're good as well. SNP again, Scotland is a wonderful, diverse and inspiring country. Everyone in Scotland should have a chance to get on in life, and we will achieve more together if we draw on the talents of the people of Scotland. Vote SNP for a future made in Scotland for Scotland. We will achieve more for the common good if we draw together the talent that lives in all our communities. So they are completely polar opposite to Reform in this respect. SNP reposted this. Sarah Masson, she said, let me make this commitment to the people of Scotland. I am here to serve you all. I am here to work hard to win your trust and your confidence. I am here to give everything I have to secure the best future for our country. Oh no, that was John Swinney saying that. She just quoted it. Do apologise. Like I say, if people run away from the SNP, there is a possibility that Labour will get in, even if they don't do as well as they're expecting to do in England and Wales. I don't think they're going to do well in Wales, to be fair. But if people stick with the SNP, then there is a possibility that Labour might struggle to get an overall majority, but we don't know. Politics is about choices, say the SNP. Labour could have chosen to invest billions in eradicating child poverty across the UK. I don't know how. But instead they've chosen to waste billions on new nuclear weapons to be imposed on Scotland. Vote SNP on July the 4th for a nuclear-free future, which is very short-sighted if they're going to go independent. Westminster priorities, more nuclear weapons. Scotland's priorities, eradicate child poverty. I mean, it's like, do I trust the SNP? No, not really, but yeah, here we go. And then you got UKIP. Now UKIP have got a new leader. I've spoke to her on Talk TV a couple of times. And this is the manifesto, well not the manifesto, but the 5 key issues that they brought up in the last couple of days. The first of UKIP's 5 core missions for a better Britain. We need immediate common sense action to tackle unbridled immigration, both legal and illegal. We won't spend 14 years breaking our promises. Mission 1. UKIP will deploy the Navy and Army to stop illegal channel crossings. I suppose that's a tick. Leave the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights. Not sure about that one. Deport criminal migrants without British passports for processing in the Falklands. And strictly control immigration with an Australian-style system, which is failing. Australia has also got issues with immigration at the moment. We spoke about that yesterday on the news programme that I do. Okay then, so let's have a look at this. Deploy the Navy and Army to stop illegal channel crossings. Yes, okay, that's fine. Leave the European Court of Human Rights. I think we technically could do that, but I think we should not get rid of all human rights. Jesus Christ, no. Deport criminal migrants without British passports for processing in the Falklands. I'm sure the people of the Falkland Islands will be like, hang on a minute, why are we getting all these migrants in? So I can't see that working either. But my thing is, deport deport all migrants without British passports back to France, where they came from, the last safe country. End of. Simple. No costs, no nothing, just send them back where they came from. But the other one is, if anyone, any migrant does a crime in the UK, particularly violent crime, then everyone in their family is deported from the country. Everyone. So we are talking terrorists. So if you do an arena bombing or something similar, then all your blood family is immediately deported. Because if you've sacrificed yourself for the greater good and become a martyr, well, we wouldn't want your family suffering by staying in a country that you hated so much that you thought you had to kill yourself for it. Also, if you kill policemen, rape children, rape anyone for that matter, and all the other crimes that seem to be going on, stabbings and that kind of thing, you're all out of here. Let's get some control back to our country. It's not racist in the respect that a lot of these people shouldn't even be here in the first place, and that's what's worrying. I've had enough of their bullshit. They have no candidates. Send them to Switzerland. Wrong uns here. UKIP and Reform running the same time is weird, since Farage formed both when it looks like they're not going to get a seat. He makes a new party. He does, you're right. It is a weird thing. But no, we do need to stop it. I mean, you just walk around and you can see that society is changing, and I don't think it's necessarily changing for the better. I mean, one thing you've got to bear in mind is who is sending these people over here. You know, who's paying for them to get over here? They've got no money, but yet they're paying €10,000 to get in a boat and come over here. Someone's supplying them with that money, because then we have to bail them out when they get here, quite literally. So there is someone behind this. There's someone diluting populations around the world for a reason. The only reason I can think of is to take control. How do we not know that these people who are coming here are not already in their own countries convicted rapists, murderers, paedophiles, terrorists, robbers, drug dealers? We don't know who these people are, so we just send them straight back. We're not faffing around here. The second of UKIP's 5 core missions for a better Britain. We need immediate common sense action to restore our military sovereignty and independence. We won't neglect our military. So this is mission 2 of UKIP. Who knew they had more than one mission? Wow. Save 1.7 billion by returning recruitment to the armed forces. Boost defence spending to 3% of GDP, and prioritise better pay and nuclear deterrent in new strategic defence review. Easy for me to say. Vote here. Shut up, Sean. I mean, these people come from France. We need to work with them to stop them before they even get into the water and risk their lives. I don't get why most don't stop in France, though, to be fair. To be fair, most do. Most do stop in Europe. Of the population that goes through Europe, the majority, and a high majority, stay in Europe. And the actual number of people coming to the UK on the legal boats is minuscule compared to the number of people coming into the country. But yeah, it's a life thing, and I've said this many times before. You can go back as long as you want on my news programmes. That I've always said that the main thing we need to stop is people drowning in the sea. I mean, we had that poor young girl who died. She didn't drown, but she was suffocated on a boat that had too many people on it a few weeks ago. It's just horrible. It's gangs in Calais. The Albanians were emptying their prisons and sending them over here. Yeah, it's not Albanians anymore now. Yeah, they're going to invest 1.7 billion. Save 1.7 billion by returning recruitment to the armed forces. I don't understand how. I don't know where the armed forces recruitment is going. The country thrives under red. Look at Wigan, absolute beacon of light. Chinese students keep the university accounts going, big difference. Chinese students do keep the universities going, but why are they bringing over other people when it's just the students who need to be here, really? And then they bugger off back to China anyway, make millions over there. Have we got too many universities? I mean, everywhere's a fucking university. Even Wigan is trying to become a university. You know, it's like, Jesus Christ. The third of UKIP's 5 core missions for a better Britain. We need immediate common sense action to restore our energy independence and our ability to provide our families long into the future. Don't waste time on fads. Okay. To be fair, I've not read this. This has literally come up, and I've just kind of screen grabbed it. So mission 3, UKIP will scrap commitment to supranational net zero agreements. We will restart fracking in designated areas, invest in nuclear, yes, and remove unnecessary bans and subsidies hindering traditional energy. By traditional energy, they mean fossil fuels. So let's have a look at this. Scrap the commitment to net zero agreements. I've said this many times before, if Britain ceased to exist and everyone on it ceased to exist like that, it wouldn't make a jot of distance a jot of difference to the perceived global warming at all. We are too insignificant as a country. It makes no difference to global warming. So I don't think that is necessarily a major problem. Restart fracking? Not sure about that. In designated areas? Yeah, can't imagine anyone wanting fracking back. Invest in nuclear? 100%. Like I said before, solar farms, wind farms, absolute waste of space. Nuclear, okay, it takes a while to build the things, which is why we need to rely on fossil fuels for the time being, but nuclear power is so much safer now than it ever has been. We're not talking Chernobyl-style nuclear reactors anymore. They've come a long way since then. From a smaller amount of nuclear material, you can get considerably more energy now because it's been worked out so much better. It can be on 24 hours a day. Doesn't matter what weather's doing. It doesn't matter anything else. It's just there. So yeah, nuclear power, 100%. I agree about net zero. Sadly, we are among the lowest in Europe for air pollution. Well, it's not good. Fans closed in the 90s, I thought. Tenno, what you like. What was the other one? Remove unnecessary bans and subsidies hindering traditional energy. So basically what they're saying is, while we're waiting for the nuclear to come online, we allow more coal mines, I assume, and oil and gas, just for the time being, whilst we get the nuclear power stations up and running, because no one wants a nuclear power station that goes pot like Fukushima. There's trillions of coal everywhere, yeah, but see, I'm not a big fan of coal, I'll be honest with you. Oil and gas I'm not so bothered about, but coal I've never been a keen one on. Plus we've blown up all the coal power stations now, so there's not really much point in that. And most of the coal that was going to be dug out from that one they were doing up in Cumbria was going to be shipped out to other countries. It was going to be sold. And that's in the Irish Sea. That was going to go under the Irish Sea. Britain is basically surrounded by coal, and that's why Wigan is where we are now, because of the coal mining that went on here. And it stretched right the way across the country, because back in the before prehistoric times, I would have thought, or certainly around that time, the UK and the area around the UK was forests, and the forests collapsed down, the trees rotted, they then got covered with water and mud and all that kind of stuff, got crushed, and eventually the whole thing turned into coal and oil, and that's why we are as rich as we are with coal and oil. Over 300 years worth of coal under our feet. Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm not turning you all to UKIP, am I? Because that's definitely not my plan. Well, you can't use coal in military jets, so no point in saving it. You could probably put it in. It's a shame with what was he called? Fred Dibner. It's a shame we've lost Fred Dibner. He could probably make coal rockets, so we could bomb everywhere using coal-powered rockets or something. The fourth of UKIP's 5 core missions for a better Britain. We need immediate common sense action to restore our food independence and our farmers' ability to provide for our nation while making a good living themselves. We won't forget our agricultural sector, which is basically what I said earlier on. Even though I hadn't read this, I just saw core 5, number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so I just copied them, screenshotted them. UKIP got 6 million votes but didn't get a seat. Yeah, exactly. So mission 4, UKIP will support British farming with subsidies that focus on returning the land to the farmers, prioritise food independence and focus on local production over imports. To be fair, for me they're all ticks. We need to not rely on other people to supply our energy, our food. We need to be able to do it ourselves. It would mean, of course, that we would go back about 50 years and that certain foods would only be readily available at certain times of the year. But it's a small price to pay for not relying on other countries. Number 5, I'm dying to think what this one is. We need immediate common sense action to empower young people and families to get on the property ladder, while undoing the damage that unfettered immigration has done to housing capacity. They couldn't help themselves, could they? They haven't mentioned immigration for 3 priorities, and all of a sudden, immigration! Build solid, reliable homes and make buying affordable with capped interest-only mortgages. That's basically renting, if it's interest only. Government shared ownership schemes and low deposits. I agree with low deposits. Yeah. See, one thing I've said is all these houses that are being built around and about, and if you live in Marsh Green, Kit Green, Alan will know about this. They're building some houses in Marsh Green, not far away from the school, but they look well. They reckon there's going to be some social housing there, which is fair enough. Up near Spa in Kit Green, and that area, they've built some semi-detached houses which are very nice, but they are not social housing. They are definitely not social housing. They are privately, well, they're all for sale for a start. And that seems to be the problem. Where the old Abbey Gabby School, the Abbey Gabby School in Pemberton near Ormscote Road, on Ormscote Road near the the M6 junction 26 exit. They built a really nice estate there, but they're all posh houses, which is great if you can afford them. I say that if someone builds housing, posh housing, they have to build the equivalent number of social houses as well. They don't have to be in the same area. They've got to be in the same district, but they don't have to be in the same area, to give people a chance to get onto the property ladder. Even if it's just renting, at least they get out of the parents' house. Time will tell what the historic land housing will be. Well, it says on it, doesn't it? It says it's going to be a few detached houses and some flats and some landscaping on the plot the size of a pub and a car park. I mean, it's God knows what it's going to be like. It's a bit like the houses they built on the church further up. This is private conversation now, and I think we'd best leave this, because no one else will know what the hell we're going on about. And then, finally, we go back to, who's this? SNP. Wish me luck on this one. Despite Scotland's limited powers and budgets, our policies have benefited every household in Scotland, unless you're ill or you're on drugs. Is the top 50 achievements of your SNP Scottish Government. They've got 50? Now, I'm not convinced by the fact they've got 50, and I can't read them because it's far too small, but I might be able to make it a bit bigger so I can read it. There we go. So they've given free prescriptions, lower council tax in England or Wales, free tuition at universities and college, free bus travel for young and old, 600 free hours of early learning and childcare, introduce Scottish child payment, free personal care for all who need it, best performing A&Es in the UK, the baby box. That's when you have a baby, you get a box that you can put your baby in and then send it back or something, I don't know. Record staffing in Scotland's NHS. So that is the top 10. Highest number of GPs per head in the UK. Scrapped NHS run hospital parking charges. Highest percentage of 25 to 6-year-olds in Europe with a degree. Built or refurbished 117 schools. Again, refurbished could be something very simple. Invest 750 million to support the most disadvantaged young people. Record numbers of young people 19 and under with a university place in 2023. Free school lunches over 277,000 pupils. Increased school clothing grants. Most progressive income tax system in the UK. It's also the most expensive income tax in the UK. Abolished rates for over 100,000 small business premises. Excellent. I'll vote in SNP. International exports up 69%. Scotland is UK's top destination outside London for inward investment. Reduced youth unemployment by 40%. Launched Scottish National Investment Bank. Created Social Security Scotland and 7 benefits are not available in the rest of the UK. Introduced Council Tax Reduction Scheme. Built 126,396 affordable homes since 2007. 74.8 million to mitigate the bedroom tax. 7.8 million mitigate child benefit cap. Crime down 53% since 2008. Not sure about that one either. More police officers per person than England and Wales. Well, it's a smaller population, to be fair. Reconviction rate, the lowest levels since records began. Confiscated 130 million from criminals to support community youth projects, 11 billion invested in Scotland's rail infrastructure, flexibility for councils to run bus services, 65 million for electric vehicle charging points. No, you've lost me, Vol. You've lost me, Vol. Electric vehicles are not the future for transport. They are a blasphemy. What's the last one? Free access to national museums and galleries. Extending the vote to 16 and 17-year-olds. Yeah, it did kind of peter off. I won't bother reading the rest, but you get the idea. To be fair, they had more than I expected, I'll be honest with you. SNP are like a fly you can't swat. Just read, if Brexiteers all vote reform, it would give them 200 plus seats and majority. God's sake. Can't imagine anything worse, I'll be honest with you. Anyway, that was ex-Twitter feeds regarding the general election. So, as a floating voter, where am I at now? I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit more confused than I was last week. I'm not sure that the Reform Party are my party. I'm not sure I want to vote for them, but I can see why people do want to vote for them. Obviously, I wouldn't vote SNP even if I could. UK Independence Party, I don't know if there's a candidate, but even then, I'm not sure. Conservatives, Labour, and Liberal Democrats. Yeah, I'm still undecided, but again, it would probably be, and I got slated for this by one person last time, at the first one of these I did, I would, if it was an election today, I would vote for the Conservatives, because Keir Starmer is not giving me anything that makes me think that I want to vote for him. I mean, literally nothing. And I'm not voting for someone just because of the Labour, like I'm not voting for someone just because of the Liberal Democrats or Reform or UKIP or Conservatives. I want to vote for who I think not can do the best job, do the least bad job. And I know we've had a bit of banter, if you're still here, betrays. I don't know if you're still here or not, I hope you are. We've had a bit of banter about it. I mean, at the end of the day, you vote for who you feel you want to vote for, but I always think that we need to vote for people, or you are here, we want to vote for people who we think can do more of the things we want them to do. And like I say, at the minute, I'm not convinced by Labour. And I know the Tories are shit, and I know it means they've been in for 20 years, if they get in. And I know they probably won't get in. But we'll have to wait and see. And the next question is, should I do a live all-nighter on the election and look at the results coming in? Because that could be interesting. It can also be incredibly boring because I have no one to talk to, so maybe I won't do that. Starmer has much charisma as a plank. Keir looks boring, but they make the best politicians. Gordon Brown was one of the best PMs we had in recent memories. He was so boring. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Gordon Brown was the guy who bankrupted the country. He wasn't in for that long. He absolutely left. Even look it up. There's even a note that was left for the Tories when they moved in, saying, "Sorry, all the money's gone," and that's why we got austerity. Admitted the Tories took it way too far, but we had to have austerity. Otherwise, the country would have been bankrupt. And we've had the same thing. Yes to all-nighter, says Urban Blonde. You only pop in and say one thing and then bugger off again. That's overhyped. It's also a fact. But anyway, having said that, I mean, you can make anything look, you know, you can say, I don't know, yeah, under the Tories, I've only got a third of my glass of Guinness left. But under Labour, I managed to drink 2/3 of a glass. You know, you can change anything. The numbers are a thing. Overhyped. I like the fact we can agree to disagree. I think that is part of the politics. I mean, the amount of politics I talk about in the shop is just ridiculous. Bear in mind it's a game stroke second-hand entertainment shop and collectibles. We talk about politics every day. You know me well. I think this country is very resilient when you consider the purse-fulfilled journalisms. I'm a glass half full kind of person, so I hope Labour can do what they say, and all the Tories can't. That's my main logic. Fair enough. You know, you've got to vote for who you believe in. I'm not here to influence people. Like I said myself, I don't even know who I'm going to vote for yet, or even if I'm even going to bother voting. I mean, that's the thing. It's do I do the complacent thing and don't even bother going in? I mean, that's one thing I moaned about when I stood in the local elections. Just over 20% of the people of the Pemberton ward went out and voted. I mean, what's the fucking point of that? You know, it's just ridiculous. It's good to talk and not be at each other's throats, unlike the US where their talks, if rights trumps gets... Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me started in America. I had a very interesting evening in a pub, not last Friday, the Friday before, with a couple of people, one of whom is so pro-Trump, it's unbelievable. And I'm like, yeah, but he's convicted criminal. You know, if I was convicted of, you know, some kind of deliberate fraud in order to influence an election, I would never be allowed to stand for anything again, and rightly so. Yet in America, he can even pardon himself and get rid of the record if he gets voted president. I mean, the system is, and why the Americans can't see what an absolute cluster their constitution is beyond me. I mean, don't get me started on gun crime. That's the thing we talk about on Sundays anyway, to be fair. But don't forget, if you have enjoyed this, please click like. We've got 11 people watching at the minute. We've had 66 views. We get quite a lot of people chatting as well, which is good. And we won't criticise you for saying stuff. You know, I mean, the whole point is that it's a debate and we can chat about things. And I think that is important in politics, because a lot of people are scared of talking about politics, and a lot of people are scared of saying the stuff that I'm quite happy to say. You know, like I've said before, I've criticised Wigan Council, which is Labour dominated, many times. But I've not only criticised them, I've actually stood against them in local elections. You know, it's one thing to be a keyboard warrior or do this kind of, you know, rant on YouTube about, you know, various things. But I'm prepared to actually get off my arse and go out there and deliver leaflets. And the last election, despite working 7 days a week, from 9 till 5, I still went out and delivered in just over 2 weeks 4,500 leaflets myself, because I believe that much that's, you know, change needs to occur in Wigan, and change needs to occur nationally as well. And maybe we need a new party. Maybe someone like Reform or UKIP need to actually come in and make a change and make the old-fashioned parties think, well, hang on a minute, we're going to lose our control here, because look at these whippersnappers coming up. And maybe that's what we need. I even thought of setting up my own party at one point, but then I realised there's only me and maybe a few of you guys, and that's it. And girls, obviously, and trans, and whoever. We're very inclusive. No, it's politics is a weird one. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Big shout out to Dream Frequency, who was first on, Luke Williams, Alan Barton, Deno, Ben, who said Reform all the way, Toff, Betrays. I still love that name, I think it's brilliant. I bet many people don't get it, to be fair, but yeah, it is a very, very good one indeed. Paradoxakaraka, who just basically come on to plug whatever they wanted to plug, which is fair enough. It's politics, free speech and all that, as long as it's not some kind of weird thing. Then we've got Liverpool LFC, Kelly and Rollo. Sean J, maybe not so much him. Rongan, not so much him either. Urban Blonde, in and out. Oh, we got. I remember that note left by Labour about no money being left over. It's good to talk, not each other's throats. They only have 12. They only have to sit 12 Democrats on the jury to get him. I give you a like and a sub. Thanks, Betrays. Appreciate that. It's been good to be back on a live. Yes, Deno, it's good to have you back as well. can I ask, would people accept switching to Euro to re-enter the EU? Didn't go down well last time. We were trying to switch. No, I think the Euro is a very bad idea, and this is my fair enough. He's on a delay, obviously. This is my reason why. When we joined the EU, as it was, well, it wasn't. It was the what was it? Common market. That's all it was. It was common market. It was basically free trade between countries that were similar sizes. I apologise to people who've read this many times, but obviously Betrays is a newer viewer to this. So basically, yeah, the common market was a way of reducing the red tape between Western European countries. So if you think of it as like a gated community of fairly wealthy, similar democracies, similar size, similar industries, nations all together in this gated community. And then after the Berlin Wall came down, some of the gated community, we had like a 1 in 8 vote on everything. The gated community said, why don't we let the council estate in now as well? So we knocked a hole in the back wall, and we let the council estate in, which was your Poland and your Lithuania and your Latvia and all those, the former Soviet countries. So they'll become part of the common market as well. And then they said, why don't we have one currency? That'll be easier. This is control, by the way, if you think about it. So the Deutschmark went, the franc went, the lira went, all the currencies, potato, whatever it was, all went. And it became the euro. We opted out of that. Thank God for that. We opted out of that. But how can a currency work when you've got a gated community and an ungated community with the same thing, where you can travel freely amongst the three? So I could be very poor in France, have 100 euros, somehow get to Latvia, and all of a sudden I'm practically a millionaire, and it's the same currency. It doesn't work. You could buy a can of Coke in, again, Germany for, I don't know, 50 cents. But you go to Greece, because we've let in now the travellers as well, you go to Greece and that 50 cents will buy you 10 cans of Coke. You can't have one. If everyone was the same, it would work. But because the economies are so different and they kind of go down like that, it doesn't work at all. A single currency does not work, which is why I voted to get out of Europe. And the reason I voted to get out of Europe wasn't because of immigration, ironically. It was to control our borders to a degree. But it was mainly so that we got control again of our laws, because 1 in 8 had suddenly become 1 in 28. And they were coming up with these weird things which suited their nationalities and their beliefs and their religions and their outlook on life, but didn't necessarily agree with the initial companies. Or go B&M and buy 6-pot noodles, yeah. So yeah, the whole thing was a con, and again it's controlling. But again, if you want to see me talk about controlling, then you need to watch my news programmes, which are on a Sunday at 10 o'clock, because I go into them at great detail at that point. But yeah, there's reasons why that wouldn't work, in my opinion. And that's the reason why I voted Brexit. Nothing to do with immigrants or anything like that. That wasn't really an issue at the time. Yeah. Anyway, that is it. I normally try and keep these to an hour. I say normally, this is only the second one I've done. And both of them have ran well over an hour. We were on 1 hour and 28 minutes. So a big shout out again to everyone who's joined in the chat. A big shout out to everyone who has joined in just watching. And everyone who's liked as well. I imagine I get more dislikes for this than I do at any other thing I do, but I expect that because it's politics and people don't agree on politics. So I'm going to say something people don't agree with, so I'll get a dislike. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I have one person who dislikes every video I do, which amazes me. Just don't watch them. I get 99% of people love my videos, and then one person doesn't like them. Although I know I've said that on this. I'm going to get shitloads of dislikes on all my other videos, but if you think about it, you've got to watch them to dislike them, so I get loads more views anyway and earn more money, so yeah, carry on. But no, I've got broad shoulders. Anyway, that is it. So thank you very much to everyone for watching, and all being well, I'll be seeing you next week, and we'll see what has gone on in a week in politics. Be seeing you indeed. Until then, bye. I did the bye thing. I did. And the cat's, as soon as I say the bye thing, the cat comes round me then, because she knows I'm finished. And she's like, alright, okay, time, I can get a stroke now. So, yeah. I'm still talking because I've not said the bye thing yet on here. So, I think I'm still talking about the EU. And how it was a false dream. Turned into a nightmare. Got 6 likes now as well, thank you. But I have gone, so technically most people won't see this, although you might do. Our people are saying bye now, so I assume that's where you're up to. The cat's washing herself. Brilliant. I have to leave this bit in, otherwise it won't make sense, will it? I've liked. Yeah, thank you, it's gone up to 6. Yes, it's gone up to 6, thank you. Dum-de-dum-de-dum, I'm still chatting away there. I'm looking very serious. I look very short as well. I look like I've shrunk. I think it's because the banner has covered up some of me. Maybe I can raise that up. Oh, I paused myself. That's not the best plan I've ever had. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Let's click on that. There you go. I'll look a bit better. Oh, I can't do that though because I need to leave the number 10 visible. So there you go. Right. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I should have my own TV show, shouldn't I? Oh, there was a Scottish guy on GB News the other day. God, he's boring. He talks such nonsense as well. It's like, What are you doing? What the cat's doing, she's making noise down there. I'm still talking. Very animatedly. Which is weird. Dum-dum-dum.